So people are saying that Fortnite is dying, but honestly, the only thing that's dying is my channel. Let's just get into this video. Here we go, back at it again with yet another video. G'day guys, I'm Champ Chong, and today we're diving right into a big topic, and that's if Fortnite is dying. It's a really strange topic, and there's a lot of stuff to talk about, so if you guys do end up enjoying today's video, please remember to smack that like button real good and bring my channel back into relevancy. Yay, self-deprecating jokes, but let's get serious right here. Because a couple of weeks ago, a video from the YouTuber known as Jed came out, and it was titled, Fortnite is finally dying. Which I actually have to give props to Jed, because that's one hell of a title, one hell of a thumbnail, and it got you some hell of a views because, well, it got you over 6 million views. Congrats to you, dude. Now the thing is, I agree with Jed on some of his points, but I also disagree with him on many, with the main point being that I don't think Fortnite is dying at all. Hell, I think this game is still growing, which it actually is. The game is still going up and up and up in popularity. So many more people are jumping on this game every single day, and so many people are still playing this game that played it last year. But also on top of that, from a gameplay standpoint, it's still evolving, even though it may not look like it on the surface of things, because, well, Epic are changing things so often that people are going, oh my god, they're killing the game, and that's basically the argument here. But honestly, the game is still in early access. It's still got a long way to go. They're still figuring this game out, which means they're going to be changing things quite a lot. Now, just a side note, if you haven't seen Jed's video yet, which you probably have since it has so many views, I have linked his video in the description down below. Now, in this video, I'm not going to break apart every single thing he says and use clips from his video every 2 minutes, kind of like I do with my breakdown of news reports. Now, in this video, what I will be doing is kind of just bring up his main argument and then giving my point of view. And with that being said, let's check out the first bit of his video here.
Today we're going to be talking about something that I'm very excited to talk about. It's Fortnite's dying. Why is it dying, and why does that make me so happy? Now, before I start, I want to make it clear that Fortnite is the #1 game out right now, and it's going to be that way for a little bit. And I also don't like it when games fail, because it's one less game that I can enjoy. But when you have a company that does everything in their power to appeal and design game mechanics around the most casual players in existence, which, by the way, are the same types of players that will enjoy any environment that you put them in as long as they have their friends and don't care about game mechanics.
So, Jed's main argument here is that Epic Games are ruining the game by simply updating the game too often and changing too many of the game mechanics. Basically, they're just changing things too often and making it harder for good players to continue being good at the game and continue doing the things that make them good at the game. They're taking away any meta from the game, and it's kind of ruining the game from that aspect of things. And I sort of agree with him to a point. Now, what I mean by that is there are things in the game that should stay in the game. There has to be a little bit of meta in every single game. There has to be just things that are in the game, and you can kind of rely on those things and continue being good at the game. But I don't completely agree with him on his points. One of the main things we've seen recently get changed is building. They've nerfed the game so much with materials. Like, there are so many less materials in the game, you're just not going to get as much mats for building, and that's kind of ruining the game in a sense. There are also less rockets now for your RPG and grenade launcher. Snipers aren't as good as they used to be. Shotguns are weak as piss, honestly. And then, yeah, the double pump just keeps coming and going and getting changed, and just little things like that. And it's just being treated like a joke overall. What I will say is that I agree with him on the fact that Epic is trying to shut down anything that good players figure out how to make the most of. That's 100% true. Epic Games seem to go, oh wait, this guy made a video on this, or Ninja's playing like this, or Myth is playing like that on his stream. Well, we're gonna have to change that. It kind of sucks that Epic do notice things that good players are doing and continually just change those things. It is really annoying. But the question here is it killing the game, or is it just simply annoying? Well, it's honestly the latter. It's not killing the game. No way. Now, I 100% respect Jed's point of view, his opinion and everything like that, but I don't agree with it. Because this game is Fortnite. It's Fortnite Battle Royale. It's not CSGO. The game is meant to cater towards the casual gamer. It's not meant to just cater towards the super sweaty nerds that are out there. It's not meant to have too much meta. It's meant to stay casual to a point. Just look at the last major super popular casual shooter that was around in the world. That game, it was the most popular game in its time for almost an entire decade, Call of Duty. That game, seriously, for almost an entire decade, reigned supreme, and it was mostly just a casual shooter that everyone could hop on, have some fun, trash talk here and there, and just have a good time with it. But then, eventually, they changed their focus. They shifted it. They were like, ooh, we've got some competitive stuff here. Let's go esports. Let's do this. Let's do that, and not focus on the casual aspect of the game, which was like 90% of their fan base was casual. And then they decided, no. We're going to focus on the esports, the meta. We're going to focus on making it more hardcore. And look what happened. It eventually killed the game. I know. I will admit that also jetpacks, wall running, all that BS killed the game too. But a big part of it was that the developers didn't focus on the main core audience of the game, which was the casual fan base. And that's what made it so fun, so popular, and so easy to pick up, and so just consumer friendly. But then they focused on something else, which was esports, which was like 10%, if that, of their audience, and it eventually killed the game. And that's what could happen to Fortnite Battle Royale if Epic Games decide to go, okay, we're going to focus on just this core aspect of the game, these people, these hardcore players, instead of the casual fan base, which is what they seem to be focusing on right now. The reason that Fortnite is so popular with everyone is because it's so easy to pick up and have a good time with. Something unlike CSGO, which is incredibly hard to master. CSGO, again, is a really popular game. It's huge around the world, but it's not played by everyone. It's not a casual game. It's a very hardcore game. As I said, it's hard to master, which Fortnite in its own right is hard to master once you get to that top tier of players. But then again, it's very easy to pick up compared to something like CSGO, which is very difficult to pick up as a noob. But anyway, I am getting a little sidetracked here. We should probably just get back to Jed's points, and one of those being in Fortnite, Bloom. He talks about how he and many competitive players don't like Bloom. Now, if you are unaware, Bloom is where your crosshair is on an enemy, and then you shoot that enemy as your crosshair is literally on them, but it still misses. This is really annoying, especially for skilled PC players, and sure, it's annoying to me too. I don't like it from time to time either, but it's what makes Fortnite work so well, as weird as that sounds. Bloom just works in Fortnite somehow. It has to stay in the game because, well, if we end up with some set up recoil patterns like we do have in CSGO, it'll be game over for the casual player out there, which is, again, as I stated, the majority of players that play Fortnite. Now, another point that he makes is that building is being nerfed in Fortnite, and unlike the last point he made about Bloom being taken out of the game, which I completely disagree with, I actually kind of agree 50-50 with Jed on this point about building being nerfed. To be specific, collecting materials, mats, like that stuff being nerfed in the amount that you do get. Epic has recently been taking away material numbers, which absolutely sucks. It's annoying. Like, I'm going to keep saying the word annoying because that's more what this all is. You're getting a lot less wood now, which is ridiculous because this, again, is Fortnite, and they're giving you less materials to build forts. It just doesn't make any sense. It's one of the main staples of this game. If Fortnite didn't have building, it would just be another Battle Royale game, and I don't think it would have gotten so popular. Sure, it would have been popular, but it's kind of what set itself aside from the rest of the pack. It made everyone go, oh, this game's a little bit different from everything else. And speaking of setting itself aside from the rest of the pack, building allows that exactly in this game. It separates the great players from the rest of the pack, from just the good players and the bad players. Sure, I'll 100% agree that it is annoying when people just build spam, but it's also annoying when you have to spend like 5 to 10 minutes just farming mats to be able to get into a fight or two. It's just the dumbest thing ever now because you're just out there breaking down trees, breaking down walls, having a great time. No, you're not, because that's boring. Honestly, that is one of the most boring things ever, having to do that. The only other way to get quick mats is to kill someone. But one thing I do disagree with him on is that they should give back the old building mats numbers, because I feel like that was a little too much sometimes, like the old numbers. I like kind of where they had it just before the latest update. That's probably where it should really stay. Maybe even somewhere in between the older numbers and the new numbers. I'm not exactly sure as to where it would go. An idea I did, however, have is, and I just mentioned this, where the only way to get good numbers of mats is to kill someone, or I should say eliminate, because this is not a violent game. But the only way to get a good number of mats is to defeat your opponent, get theirs, and then you have more. That's a quick way to get it. Which, an idea I did have is that what if you kill, oh my god, I said it again, but what if you defeat your opponent and you get their mats and you get like a 20 to 40% boost on top of what they had. So let's say they had 100, they'll get, maybe you get like 150 instead, if that's like a huge jump, if that was like 50% bonus or something like that. Because that way you get rewarded for defeating your opponent, and that way you get their mats, and if they had 100 wood, you get 120, 130, 140, 150, somewhere around that mark, rather than just getting exactly what they had, because that'll encourage less camping, more battles, and it will make the game go a lot quicker and a lot more fast-paced, and it will just be a lot more fun that way. And as I said, less camping, because I hate campers in 1x1s. It is the most boring thing in the world. Similar to how another thing that's one of the most boring things in the world is having to farm mats. Seriously, if they continue to just cut in half every single time the number of mats you get, it's just honestly going to kill the game. So that's where I do agree with him, is that they need to stop cutting down on the number of materials that you do get in the game. They have to bring that number up, give you bonuses for eliminating opponents. I honestly think that's one of the coolest things that could come into the game, but I don't know if they'll do that. Now, moving on to one of Jed's other points, and that was regarding shotguns and how they've been nerfed. And this is where I actually do agree with him. Shotguns feel like they're not really shotguns at times. They've definitely been screwing around with shotguns a little too much. Double pump should always stay in the game. I hope they never completely get rid of double pumping, because that would really piss off like the real players who have mastered it. Double pump is something that you do master. It should be a reward. If you're good at it, it only takes a little bit of time to really learn it, but then to master it, that's where you really get good at it, and that's where players could get really good with it, and that's why it should stay in the game. On top of that, tac shotguns, I really like the blue tac, but at times I get so mad because I feel like they've nerfed the hell out of this game. You're getting like 15 damage from like 2 meters away, where you hit them straight in the body, like, what? It doesn't make any sense. So I honestly think it's getting a little ridiculous now with the nerfing of shotguns. But one thing I will mention here is that where I do disagree with him on is that they should completely make the shotguns like really, really powerful, because they shouldn't be so overpowered that you can just constantly just use shotguns. Because one of the most boring things I think about Fortnite, and this is where it could kind of slow the game down eventually with its popularity, is the way that games end. I feel like a lot of games, and just a lot of battles in general, are just build fights with shotguns. And sure, if you're good at that, that's great. But that's kind of boring. The cool thing that I liked about playing H1 back in the day, or even PUBG in the last year, is the fact that games could end in so many different crazy ways. And sure, those games had a lot of camping too, but you'd have vehicles, you'd have crazy explosions, you have crazy snipe battles, all that kind of stuff. And that's all, sure, except for the vehicles part. I guess trolleys and carts don't count. But except for that stuff there, but most of that's still in Fortnite. But for the most part, most games still end with build battles and shotguns, which kind of gets boring after a little while. So I'd like to see a little more diversity in battles, but then again, I don't want to see shotguns being nerfed to hell, because that's totally wrong. So Epic Games, please don't nerf shotguns again, or I'll probably nerf you. I don't even know. But anyway, all in all, I do agree with some of the points Jed makes, but I do disagree with some of the stuff he says. I don't think Fortnite is dying at all. I completely disagree with that fact. I honestly think he's just kind of doing that for the views, for the title, for the thumbnail, which worked, as I said, for him. 6 million views. Congrats, dude. But Is Fortnite kind of on the decline? No, I still think it's going up. Is Epic Games screwing with the game a little bit? Yeah, a little bit too much. Just a little bit too much. If they were to kind of slow that down and slow down the updates, it'll be a good thing, because if they just keep doing this, it'll keep annoying players and people might step away. But right now, at this stage, I don't think they're doing enough of it to really, really hurt the game and really, really hurt the players. So hopefully they don't do too much more nerfing, too much more changes to the game, because that'll be really annoying. Fortnite Battle Royale is still technically an early access game, still technically not a full release yet. It was just a tack on to the Save the World. And nobody expected it, not even Epic, not us, nobody expected this game to get as big as it did so quickly, and they're still learning. They're still figuring this whole game out. So we have to give them some leeway on figuring all this stuff out. Hopefully they figure that out before later this year, when a lot more games come out, or the big AAA titles, because that's where I reckon they'll maybe lose a little bit, maybe like 5 to 10% of their player base, maybe more, I'm not sure. We're not sure how this all will work out, but they are still figuring this all out. And after all, this game is free. It's a free game, which means every single day you're going to get new players coming into the game, new casual players, new noobs to kill. It's just eliminate. It's going to just keep growing. It's going to at least stay steady or grow. It doesn't matter. It's going to be a long, long ways away from actually dying. It's the biggest game in the world. And since it is a free game, and as I said, every day there's new noobs, those noobs eventually become average players. Those average players eventually become good players. And those good players, if they're good enough and dedicate their time enough into this game and are skilled enough, they will become the good, great players, you know? And that's the meta of the game, essentially, if you think about it. You can't just have this crazy skill gap where it's impossible to get into. It's kind of like CSGO is now. You need to still have that ease of access into the game once you first come into the game. It needs to be friendly enough. It can't be way too hard to pick up. And I think that's what Fortnite, well, I should say Epic Games, are trying to figure out. They can't just make Fortnite into this complete hardcore game, because that's going to alienate a lot of players, especially the new players. And that's honestly, I'd hate to say it, but that's honestly what would kill the game. That's what would kill Fortnite Battle Royale, if they alienate too many people. But then again, another thing that would totally kill Fortnite is if they keep taking things out of the game, nerfing things, all that kind of stuff. That's what would also potentially kill Fortnite. There definitely just needs to be some kind of middle ground. And honestly, I think that's what Epic are trying to do, as I said. They're trying to find that middle ground to make the game easy for the new players, or at least accessible and easy to get into, but also still a great game to play once you're one of the better players out there. Fortnite is still the #1 game in the entire world. I'm excited to see where this game is in 6 to 12 months from now. I'm not sure where it will be, but I'm excited to see where it does go. So I'll be playing Fortnite Battle Royale pretty much every day from now on until then, unless something drastic happens. And hopefully I see you on there. But anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below as to what you love, what you hate about Fortnite Battle Royale. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.